In the world of classic car restoration, originality is usually king, but there are many people who like their classics updated and improved to get the best of both worlds, an iconic and much loved design with a more reliable or more powerful drivetrain. I've picked out 10 so-called Restomods of British classic cars, in ascending order of starting price. Let me know in the comments what you think of Restomods, which of my picks is your favourite, or what British classic Restomods I may have overlooked. First up is an Oshe Healey Sprite Restomod by a company called Mythron, based in West Sussex, just down the road from the Dunsfold Aerodrome, home to the Top Gear test track. They have two variants, one for occasional track use and one for the road. I'll focus on what they call the Fast Road Edition. It's their interpretation of an Oshe Healey Fastback, a variant of the Sprite, itself a variant of the MG Midget, that was raced by the likes of Stirling Moss and even Steve McQueen at Sebring. It's based on a reconditioned Mark I chassis, with upgraded brakes, steering and adjustable suspension. Power comes from a refurbished and rebored A+ series engine, delivering 110 brake horsepower through a 4-speed manual gearbox. If 110 horsepower doesn't sound much, just remember that the whole car only weighs a shade over 600 kilos. Externally, it looks all but identical to the original and has a fiberglass body shell, bespoke LED headlamps and other exterior lighting converted to LEDs. On the inside, the Fast Road version is fully upholstered in a choice of leather or vinyl, and the instrument panel is updated with electronic dials and modern touches such as a USB charging port. Only 16 cars are being made, and the starting price is a mere £65,000, which includes a Mark I Sprite or Midget donor vehicle. Next cheapest is another diminutive masterpiece, the BMC Mini, and in this guise the Mini Remastered by David Brown Automotive of Silverstone. It has been around since 2017, and with a nod to its target market was launched at Top Marks in Monaco. Without losing the distinctive looks or playful character of the BMC Mini, they've addressed most if not all of the original car's shortcomings. From the outside, the most noticeable change from the original is the lack of external weld seams, thereby removing one of the biggest issues of water ingress and resultant corrosion that the BMC Minis suffered from. Next, you'll spot the bespoke rear light clusters, jewelled lenses mounted in an aluminium plate. On the inside, the leather upholstery and styling is similar to that you'd find in luxury cars, like an Aston Martin or a Bentley. The technology installed is a million miles away from the single central dial of the first Minis, with modern classic look dials and a 7-inch touchscreen incorporating sat-nav and Apple CarPlay. A motor-later wooden steering wheel keeps that retro feel, but extras like electric windows, proper heating, air conditioning and power steering means that you don't have to suffer for your nostalgia. The powertrain and running gear is also upgraded and modernised, with a 1275cc A-series engine delivering 71 brake horsepower through a re-engineered 4-speed manual transmission. Prices aren't quoted, but are understood to start from around £100,000 and include sourcing a donor vehicle. Moving to the other extreme of scale is the Range Rover Classic, re-engineered by Kingsley Cars, based a few miles outside Oxford. They have a number of early Range Rover models in their lineup, reworking both the original 2-door and slightly later 4-door vehicles. Their KC series is a sympathetic restoration of an original 2-door Suffolk Range Rover, but if you want some modernisation and re-engineering, the KR series is the one to go for, enhancing and upgrading the car for everyday use. The body and chassis are stripped down, repaired and restored, and then built back up with high-performance suspension and an uprated braking system. There are options for power and drive, including a 240 brake horsepower and 310 brake horsepower high-torque reworking of the Rover engine with fuel injection, and a 430 brake horsepower Chevy LS unit. The Rover power plant can be specified with a 4-speed auto or a 5-speed manual, but the Chevy comes with a 6-speed automatic transmission. The interior of the car is reworked too, adding sound deadening insulation and Napa leather upholstery or your choice of Alcantara or tartan cloth. The cabin also comes equipped with all the modern day creature comforts you'd expect. You'll have to pay something in the order of £120,000 for a KR series, more if you have extravagant tastes. For the ultimate in indulgence, their KSR series starts at £280,000. Another classic Restomod coming out of Oxfordshire is the Frontline MGB, built in a small unit once used by the Benetton F1 team, and situated less than 4 miles from where MG's Abingdon factory once stood. Having started by developing race-ready drivetrains for MGs, Frontline now produce full Restomod limited editions. The first was the Mazda-powered LE50, known as the Abingdon Roadster, which sold out quickly following a glowing endorsement by the then Top Gear host Chris Evans. Now the headline factory model is the LE60 V8 GT, unless you fancy an electric version, but that would be another story. Powered by a modernised 4.8 litre Rover V8, delivering 375 brake horsepower through a heavy-duty 5-speed gearbox and a Quaife limited slip diff, this Pininfarina-styled wide-track coupe is promoted as the ultimate MGB GT, built with no compromises. It will hit 60 in 3.6 seconds and top out at 160 miles per hour. Larger disc brakes, vented at the front, will give you plenty of stopping power, and fully adjustable suspension can give you comfort on road or stability on track. The interior is hand finished and trimmed with high quality leather and Alcantara for comfort, and the instruments and switchgear are restored to retain the classic feel, but are now accompanied by more modern high-tech equipment. How much for this ultimate MGB GT? Costs will start at around £176,000, but that doesn't include tax, so it'll end up well beyond £200,000. Fifth in the list is the Oshe Land Rover Defender series, all named for major rivers in southern Africa, where Oshe's founder grew up and still returns to periodically, helping to manage the family farm, which comprises 5,000 acres of bushland, perfect Land Rover country. Taking a Land Rover from the mid-80s onwards, they were renamed Defender in 1990, Oshe stripped the vehicle back to the chassis and built the car back up, removing or deleting anything along the way that serves no purpose to the end product. Although unmistakably a Land Rover Defender, a closer look at the body reveals a much smoother and perfect finish, with all the unsightly rivets, seams and holes from the original vehicle removed. The interior is finished with a similar attention to detail, with high quality leather and inlaid woods and veneers from Africa, from acacia to zebrano. The Okavango is the first model, a short wheelbase open top Defender 90 with a 3.5 litre V8, a 4-speed auto box and electronic suspension. The Zambezi is based on a longer wheelbase 110 with a twin cab and a pickup rear bed. Similarly spec'd, this larger Defender has a whopping 6.2 litre V8 with an 8-speed auto transmission. Coming soon is the Limpopo, almost identical in performance spec to the 110 Zambezi, but with a full station wagon 5-door body. All have great sound systems and other refinements that put the Oshe Defenders firmly into the luxury vehicle segment. The starting prices reflect this positioning, somewhere around £225,000 before tax. But if you can dream it, they can build it, and the numbers will rise rapidly the more your imagination roams free. One of the most recent launches in my list is the TWR Supercat, reviving both the Tom Walkinshaw Racing Company and the Jaguar XJS, the first road car that TWR Sport modified with their racing know-how in the mid-80s. In terms of looks, the Supercat is an XJS on steroids. You can still see the lines of the original car, but is now in carbon fibre and fully pumped with an aggressive front splitter, wide flared arches, side skirts, deep rear diffuser and an active boot lid ducktail. It still sports a Jaguar V12 engine, slightly larger than the original at 5.6 litres, but is supercharged and pumps out 660 brake horsepower. Maybe unsurprisingly given its sporting pedigree, there's a manual 6-speed transmission and limited slip diff, as well as active suspension and vented brakes to keep all that power under control, whether on road or on track. Inside will be either 2 seats or 2+2, and finished and specified to the purchaser's requirements. TWR Supercat will be limited to 88 vehicles worldwide, and pricing starts at the same level as the Oshe Defender, £225,000, which is around $300,000. My next pick is the Eagle E-Type. With over 30 years producing restored and reworked Jaguar E-Types, Eagle are perhaps the longest lived of my choice of British classic restomodders. But in that time they haven't stood still, producing 5 variants of E-Type, from a full and faithful restoration to a Speedster, a low drag GT, a Spider GT and a lightweight GT. I did ponder on whether the Eagle Jaguars could be considered as resto mods, because the modifications are less overt and are done sympathetically without diluting the spirit of the original. But modified they are for reliability and performance, and styled to the customer's bespoke specification. Which model to pick from their lineup? Well, let's go with the original, the standard Eagle E-Type. Although keen to stay true to the original specification and feel of the Jaguar E-Type, Eagle aimed to create a car that's more reliable and more versatile than those that rolled out of Brown's Lane in the 60s. For starters, the engine has a bespoke electronic ignition, mapped by Eagle, a modern fuel pump and an uprated cooling system to keep the XK motor running sweetly. Modern shock absorbers and wider wheels increase comfort and handling, and improved facilities like heating and demisting make life more pleasant for the car's occupants. Depending on how you intend to use your Eagle E-Type, they can also enhance the drive and handling of the car to better suit continental touring or sporting use. If you want to give it more juice, they can also boost the performance into supercar territory, uprating the braking system to compensate. Expect to pay around £250,000 for a fully restored and upgraded Eagle E-Type. Of course, as I said before, there are other variants you could go for, each costing more than this. In fact, it'll be getting on towards £1 million for the lightweight GT. Up next is the British classic Grand Tourer with arguably the best name, the Jensen Interceptor. Another firm now based in Oxfordshire, Jensen International Automotive have created a business from restoring and re-engineering Interceptors, and even the rarer FFs. Let's take their Interceptor R model, which can be specified with either a 430 brake horsepower Chevrolet LS3 6.2 litre V8 or a supercharged LT4 V8 with the same displacement delivering 650 horsepower. There is little change to the exterior look of the cars, although you can choose to change the paint colour, the wheels and the headlamps to LED units. On the inside, all is cloaked in your choice of leather to complement the exterior colour. Interior equipment can also be upgraded to introduce up-to-date technologies like SatNav and Apple CarPlay. Needless to say, if you want to go outside their standard options, they are very happy to accommodate a more bespoke approach if your pockets are deep enough. If you stick to their Interceptor R template, it will cost you around £390,000, which includes a donor car. The most recent and yet to be fully revealed pick is close to my heart, and that is the Lotus Esprit. More specifically, the Encor Series 1, teased with these visuals just weeks ago on the 50th anniversary of the Esprit's debut at the Paris Motor Show in 1975. The recreation process starts with a V8 powered Esprit, built between 1994 and the end of production in 2004. They will strip the car down, retaining the chassis and engine, but re-engineering and refining both, and cloak the car in a new lightweight but more rigid carbon fibre body, reminiscent of the original Series 1 Esprit Giugiaro design, featured in the Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me, but modernised to include LED lighting and enhanced aerodynamics. The interior will be reinterpreted in leather and Alcantara, retaining the wraparound cockpit and subtly integrating new technologies like Apple CarPlay, 360 cameras and climate control. Full technical specifications will be released in November 2025, when a finished car will be revealed publicly for the first time. Only 50 cars will be built, and each will have a starting price of £430,000. That doesn't include taxes or a donor car, so expect that the price will top £600,000 by the time it's finished. My final choice is another car that featured in a James Bond film, the Aston Martin Vanquish. You may remember it was referred to by Q as the Vanish, thanks to its sci-fi cloaking device. The original designer of the Vanquish, Ian Callum, now runs his own design and engineering consultancy, and in 2020 he revisited the car to create the Vanquish 25, in collaboration with R Reforged, who are building the cars. The 5.9 litre V12 is tuned to 580 brake horsepower, 60 more than the original car, and it can be mated to either the original 6-speed automated manual or a 6-speed manual conversion produced by Aston Martin Works. The exterior is softened and updated, matching the overall shape of the original but giving it a distinctive and more modern look. Reworked too are the suspension and braking systems to give more confident handling through the bends and greater stopping power. Inside, the car is reupholstered in Bridge of Weir leather and equipped with luxury finishes from other British brands like Bremont and Mulberry. As it's last on the list, it's also the most expensive, originally communicated with a £450,000 starting price. But that doesn't include a donor car, nor the likely inflation of the past few years. Like the Esprit, the bill will be well above £600,000 by the time you get to drive it away. Wow, there are some amazing British classic Restomod cars in that list, and some eye-watering prices. But there's clearly a market for the super rich to buy bespoke cars that are one of one, that no one else will have. I guess that for most of these picks, you could buy your own donor car and spend a fraction of that money restoring and making your own modifications on it. But what level of finish could you achieve compared to these specialists? Let me know in the comments what you think. Which of my picks would you like to own if money were no object? Or are there other British classics crying out to be restomodded? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos on classic sports cars and Grand Tourers. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.